First of all, relating to the job thing, I've read that you have donated to students during your office hours. I'm wondering
where did you read that?
How your employer feels about that.
Yeah, sure. They would not appreciate that.
Yeah.
I had a student last semester ask me for a child, and the truth is I told her straight up. I said, listen, she wasn't even my student; she was just a student at the school. So I told her I cannot help you. I love my job, and I need my job. I have a lot of mouths to feed, and I can't help you. And she, of course, did multiple IUIs, and she wasn't conceiving, and she was trying to convince me, and she gave me a very sad story. Her sister was murdered at a hotel here in the city, and she wants to have a daughter so she can name it after her sister, and like a very, very moving story. And I was like, I really would love to help you, but still, unfortunately, my answer is no. Then she started sending me pictures of her ass and said, what about now? What does your ass have? And that was also a very compelling point. But I said my answer has to be no. Even though you were never my student, you're still a student at the school, and I don't think my job would appreciate that. And then she sent me something that actually did change my mind. She sent me, Shabbos is over, I think.
It's not over yet.
I'm thinking Abdullah right now. She sent me her diploma. And then I said, you know what? All right, you graduated. You were my student. You graduated. So then now she is pregnant. She's expecting a boy. She just found out. We did not do it naturally, even though it was that's the method that she wanted. And I remember going to her house, and I met her mom, and her mom was like, "Why don't you just go into the bedroom and just do it the regular way?" I'm telling you, it's difficult for me because besides helping so many women in a month, I really need to not only protect myself, but I just think about all these women that I wouldn't never want to put in danger. So I have a lot of offers for sex, but to have unprotected sex 2-3 times a week, it's just a matter of time. So typically that would be challenging.
Okay.
You have one other question?
Yeah, I want to say I'm a donor-conceived adult. Oh wow. And I want to tell you that these babies, they grow up, and we're very opinionated. We're people. We're our own people. And it's very, very, very different to have small babies or children or teenagers versus adult donor conceived. And I wanted to share one of the statistics from one of the most recent surveys we've done from donor conceived adults, where probably, when I add up between 1 to 5 and 6 to 10, over 75% of donor conceived adults want there to be limits, which most other countries have. Most other countries that are more progressive on this issue, most countries in Europe, Australia, which Varda is one of the most progressive systems in Victoria, Australia.
I think they only allow known.
Right, they only now allow known. The UK also has to be known at 18, which, not that I approve of that either, but want there to be under 10 children, under 10 siblings, because as adults, we have relationships with our siblings. As adults, we want, many of us want relationships, adult relationships with our biological parent. When you get upwards of 10 siblings, that becomes very difficult, and the emotional drain on us is astronomical. And I've been through a lot in my life, and I've never seen more trauma, more pain than I've seen in the adult donor conceived community, in regard to, and again, I express my esteem that you are willing to know the children, because that is a huge thing for those of us conceived in the past where things were anonymous, or I was lied to for most of my life. Most of us were lied to. About 90% of donor conceived people don't know the donor conceived. Even currently, the estimates are about 75% of parents are not telling their children that they're donor conceived even now. I actually work with parents who are using donors. I moderate the largest online community of donor conceived people, parents, and donors. I'm vice president of the U.S. Donor Conceived Alliance, and it needs to be changed. And again, I commend you for knowing and having relationships with the children, because that is very important. A lot of us are struggling with a lot of the same issues that adoptees have been talking about for decades, are only being known now in donor conceived people now. we struggle with the exact same issues that adoptees struggle with. So knowing our background, knowing the parent absolutely helps. So thank you for that. But it doesn't take the place. There's a lot of abandonment issues, and we don't appreciate being the butt of jokes, the butt of cup jokes, the butt of jokes, Target bathrooms, those things emotionally impact us. And as adults, we're able to articulate that much better than children. So I like, from the donor conceived community, to let you know that when you're doing this, please take into consideration that these babies and the happiness that their families have, the dysfunction that can come 20, 30 years down the line from children actually growing up and dealing with the consequences of what's currently going on, is astronomical, and it's nothing I could ever have prepared myself for without actually being in the community and talking with parents and talking with other donor conceived adults, and even talking with donors themselves, because I know many donors, I know many egg donors, I know many sperm donors, recent, current, past, and I know all their struggles. And I also moderate a group of people who are finding out later in life that they are ethnically of a different background. I myself found out that I was half ethnically Ashkenazi Jewish, which I did not know until now, more recently. And so the disconnect there is, especially if you're talking about children who are being raised by parents who you're not sure what their ethnic or religious background is. When those children grow up, they often want to explore. They've missed out on a lifetime of cultural immersion. I have no idea how to pronounce half of the stuff that's gone on here, even though I've spent the last 2 years trying to immerse myself in Jewish culture. I will never be Jewish, and yet literally my entire life people have asked me if I'm Jewish, because, but but I was never able to tell them for sure, because no one knew. And
so
also,
do you know who your donor is, or who your father is?
Yes, and I have a relationship with him now, and even not knowing he even existed for the first 35 years of my life, I am a carbon copy of this man. I look like him, I act like him. He says I inherited his personality more than even some of the children that he raised. He has 3 kids that he raised.
Are you close with any of your siblings?
Yeah, I have. So far, there's 3 of us who are donor conceived from his donation, and we have no idea. I have friends who have sibling groups, 50, 100. There are kids now being conceived with 200 siblings.
And even the fertility clinic.
They have no idea. They have no idea.
Track.
No. So I mean, I appreciate that you keep track and stuff, but the thing is, we appreciate you keeping track. But still, the fact that there are high numbers, I would suggest that the high numbers come down, because it's
as soon as it went to the post,
thank you for sharing that.
And just too, the fact of background checks and stuff, people who adopt have to go through hoops and background checks, and how to appropriately raise children. Even not all adoptive parents are wonderful, but have to go through hoops, background checks, making sure that they know how to parent children who are not biologically related to them.
Yep. There is a limit.
And so I encourage you, for anybody, to make sure that they
also
know
don't
that.
lie to the children.
Right.
Yeah, because this woman in Ghana, she plans on just lying to the child.
And I would not go ahead with
tell family. She doesn't want to tell anybody. And of course, ultimately, I defer to them, so they make all the parenting decisions. I don't know that I can share my point of view, and I know that's the accepted. There are limits in depending where you live, of how many children you can have as an anonymous donor. But of course, being in it's based on how many millions of people live in your city, and being in a city of 8 million people, the protocol would allow me to donate thousands of times, and it wouldn't have been an issue. But of course, we won't ever reach that number. But of course, my children know who the father is, so it is a little different. But I do appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.